Hi, my name is Sushma, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about cooking. I really enjoy cooking, and I think cooking in many ways is a very life-giving thing. The first time, I think my first memory of cooking is my mother's smells coming, the fragrances coming from the kitchen, my mother cooking wonderful curries, the fresh smell of chapati, the smell of ghee cooking on the stove, were the very first smells in my life that I encountered. And while in my childhood I had no interest in cooking and no desire to cook, but rather a huge desire to eat good food, later on in my life, when my mother was no more, those memories of her cooking haunted me, and I wanted to do the same thing for my children. And I ended up learning to cook, teaching myself to cook, using the guidance of the smells, the tastes, and the fragrances, and the textures that my mother created to learn to cook from scratch myself. Now I wish I had taken down some of her recipes, but you know, your sense of taste, smell, texture, touch, and feel is a pretty good way to go when you want to start to learn to cook from scratch. The reason I'm talking about cooking is it's such a joy. It is such a joy to cook. You're not eating in restaurants, so you're saving a lot. You can afford to eat organic food when you're cooking yourself from scratch. And it is delicious. Once you learn to put two basic foods together, you will find that cooking a fresh dish on your own stove is far more delicious than going out to restaurants and eating. I find that cooking makes me happy. Cooking will make you happy as well. It's an act of love. It requires you to develop some talent, and you'll take great pride as you learn to cook better and better foods. But even the simplest of foods can be made very, very attractive, very appetizing, and they will give you a sense of achievement. And so what I want to say is learn to cook. It doesn't have to be very complicated. You don't have to do Indian cuisine or Chinese cuisine or esoteric other cuisines. Just buy good quality ingredients. And if you're a working person, and a young working person in particular, make a meal plan. You don't even have to make a meal plan, actually. You can just go to the market, get fresh vegetables that are in season, and then you Google recipes. You Google what you can do with kale or things like turnips that you never heard of before or never ate, and you can make delicious foods with those. And once you start doing that, you will find that you enjoy cooking for yourself, you enjoy cooking for others, you get a lot healthier because you know you're not putting monosodium glutamate in the foods, you know you're not putting in polyunsaturated fats into your foods, you know you're not adding refined sugars and refined flours to your cooking, and your cooking will develop, and as a consequence the health of your family will develop from it. I notice that mothers who cook beget children who cook. Sometimes mothers who don't cook also beget children who cook because they so hated the TV dinners or the frozen foods and so on. And it's possible to work outside the house and still cook from scratch. All you have to do is plan a little bit ahead. Soak a few grains, soak a few nuts. If you're keto, make a couple of batches of ghee, or prepare your meat. So marinate your fish one day, cook it the next day. You know, for children, you can soak a starch one day, cook it the next day. You can use things like slow cookers and slow heat. If you cook a chicken, have the whole family throw their bones into a pot, and you make a broth that feeds your starchy vegetable or starchy soups or stews the following day. So I would encourage all of you to cook simple things, but make it a point of cooking from scratch for the rest of your life. It is a joy. I frequently forget things in the fridge. So as Orly said, a cook that she knew used to pull out everything from the fridge and then decide what she wanted to cook. In the days of the internet, all of this is very easy and very, very possible. So cook for joy, cook for pleasure, cook for your health, cook for someone you love. That'll create a habit that is probably one of the most health-giving habits you could develop. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing in times of distress, when someone has died or someone just gave birth to a child. What is a better skill to have than to cook comforting food? So embrace cooking. If you're a youngster, I hope you try and cook 80% of your food calories yourself. None of it has to be hard. None of it has to be complicated. It just has to be fresh food, and a little bit of planning and forethought will go a long, long way. So happy cooking and enjoy the rest of your week. And I'm hoping you make a couple of plans and a couple of dishes. Thanks, and I'm checking out.